Ladies and gentlemen, Big Hairy News.
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another episode of Big Hairy News. As we're just coming live, Chewy, I'm just texting Matthew Tukaki saying, well done on the working group. You know, I know you caught some of it, I caught some of it as well. It looks like interesting conversations, which we'll be covering off tomorrow, because obviously they finished just as we're starting now. For some reason, Duncan Garner's getting in and doing a show that 4 people watch, but there you go. Yes, evening, Chewy.
Good evening, Pat. Yeah, I caught the end of the working group as well. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about Dunedin Hospital. We've been talking about it a lot as well. And we should continue to talk about it a lot. But it is breaking my brain when I see so much good information out there, and then people who co-host on working group just parrot lines that have been almost instantly disproven that we spoke about last night, and just like some of those talking points are landing for people, even though they've been like, we're going to keep on screaming it from the rooftops.
I didn't hear all of it because I was getting ready, but Josie said Simon Wilson. I came right in when Simon was trying to explain to Damien as to why the treaty mattered and what it was for the 900,000th time to Damien Grant that was being explained to him. But I'm
sure we'll grab it. But my favourite was that Damien took the position that the treaty is an agreement between races.
Yeah, but that's what Seymour said as well. It's not.
What? So it's between the entirety of the Māori race and the entirety of the white race?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem right. That seems silly and stupid.
It's and that's what I said last night about Seymour, not to revisit what we talked about last night, but it's a dog whistle with racial undertones, because the landowners, when Europeans turned up, were Māori. So obviously one part of the agreement is going to be represented by Māori. They are a race as well, but they were in the contract because they own the land. They could have been blue. They could have been from anywhere, but they're in the contract because they were the landowners. And the other party is the Crown. So I think I said last night, if I went to India and made up a contract with an Indian company, it wouldn't be, it's descendants of Ireland on one side and Indian people on the other side. It's about races. No, it's because I'm in a different country and the people I'm negotiating with are from that country. So that's why it's Māori, because Māori were here in the country. It's as I said, it's just got those racial undertones that dog whistle to a certain sector. Yes, but we'll get into that tomorrow night in more details, I'm sure. Big apology. Forgot to do this last night. Didn't forget to do it. Got to the end of the day, realized I hadn't done the editing, so I couldn't do it. And actually, we had a guest last night, so we wanted to get straight into it. That'll be my excuse. A huge hi and a thanks to Riley Willis, to Spilt Icor, and to Christine Borst, who will become patrons in the last 7 or 8 days, and also to Brother Monk, who has moved up a tier. So thank you all for being a part of what we do. If you want to be a part of what we do via the international symbol of the Patreon, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Now, I do have some news to tell you about to do with one of the ways we fund ourselves. One of the ways we fund ourselves is we do a merch drop every month. I was informed today that we've lost our printer, the people who make our merch for us. are closing down. Yeah. It's a really sad and unfortunate thing. They're closing down, and it's basically because of the economy. And so, maybe we should have been paying them more. But
why has Jacinda done this?
Yeah, Jacinda, why are you doing this? So I'm hugely. I had a chat with the owner today, and I'm obviously frightfully sorry for them. But it does mean that we now have to figure out a new way to do merch. And Chewy, the world exclusive people, Chewy hasn't seen this yet. We're getting these ideas coming in all the time for the kind of merch we could have. Like there could be like a Chewy rant t-shirt.
I love it.
You love it?
I love it.
I was going to send that to you today. Emily sent that to me today. Thanks, Emily. I was going to send it to you today, but I thought, no, I'll just show you live on the show. So we're getting all these new ideas about merch coming in. We're working on one that's going to say Chewy Rant. We've got Chewy Exploding now as well. So the problem now is we've lost our printer. And to be honest with you guys, we keep our prices pretty reasonable. I look at some other merch from other things, and like their hoodies are 150 and their t-shirts are 70. Now we keep them reasonable, and one of the reasons we keep them reasonable is because the printer gave us a great price. So finding another way to do it might have to be an increase of price. We don't want to do that, so we're just going to work it out. So I would have probably done a merch drop next week. As for right now, it's a I was going to say TBC, to be confused. To be confirmed. The C's confirmed.
Be confirmed.
Be confirmed. So there you go. So extra thanks to the people who are on board our Patreon at the moment, because that little kind of merch gets us several $100s a month that we can put towards things, and we're probably not going to have that this month. So huge thanks. Thank you so much. Which also means we're going to do breast cancer awareness this month as well as our charity, which we now probably aren't going to do. So, but I will keep you informed. Mostly telling you this because people are going to start asking, where's the merch for this month? Well, we have to wait and see. And also, to be honest, heart goes out to the guys in the printing company. It's a really hard time for everybody, and it sucks for them. Sucks big time, bro. Chewy, do you know that old adage of the tortoise and the hare?
I do.
How the tortoise always wins?
Slow and steady wins the race.
Should we see if it's true or not?
Oh.
Tortoise and the hare. Here we go. So this is a real life test of the tortoise and the hare. And slow and steady. They're even trying to get the rabbit to go faster. But guess what? Slow and steady. Whoa, neck and neck. Slow and steady.
Hand out of it, child.
Is going to win the race. So it's true. It's true. There you go. If you've ever wondered about that story and you've ever gone like, oh, that's a bit stupid, of course the rabbit would win. Well, the hare. No. Proven. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, proven. We kind of didn't get a chance to do our little tangent stuff last night, so I do have something else for you as well, Chewy. I think you'll like this. Actually, I only came across this today, to be fair. But you know how the National Party, Nicola Willis in particular, wants to get all the government departments working from in the office and no one from home? She spoke to a guy from the Canterbury, I think it's Canterbury ZB, John is his first name, and guess where she was working from? Have a listen.
Are you working from home today?
No, I'm not. I'm just home temporarily at this present time.
Right, so you're doing this part of your work from home?
Well, for now, yes.
For now.
There you go. And that was that. So she wasn't working from home. She was just at home at that time doing that work. But she wasn't working from home.
Coincidentally.
Coincidentally. Have you got anything for us today before we get into it? I mean, I feel like yesterday was a great show, but we were very long and busy, and we cut things out and nothing going on.
Nothing apart from the big international news. It's of course Israel is charged into southern Lebanon as everybody was expecting them to.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What even are borders? Just suggestions, really.
Yeah. Rajan, happy 100th birthday. Is it Jimmy Carter's 100th day? He's still around too, eh? I had no idea.
Yep.
He's still around
And up
doing
until,
building
quite
houses for
recently.
Habitat for Humanity,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. This is joy.
Yep.
Thank you for the super chat, Rajan. Frosty says, Jacinda, how could you? Tina with the super chat, thank you. Haha, Pat fell down a YouTube rabbit hole today. I live in them. You know what? TikTok is an evil app sometimes, and I will just be going, shit, 20 minutes gone. 20 minutes gone. And thank you for this super chat, Stephen. Tēnā kōrua ihoa. And that's us for today. All right. Now, we're going to be talking a bit of national politics today. National as in the National Party. Because we are going to have a look at a ridiculous interview that Sir John Key did. I'll get to it. I mean, like, I've already put a couple of tweets out today. He's either a moron and doesn't understand how economics works, or he's just sucking on that right-wing teat and keeps talking out the talking points, even though he knows it's bullshit. Like, honestly, I heard him say it and I went, oh my God, John Key, this is what all the American right-wingers say. This is what all the people who are in politics say, not the people who are removed from politics and actually can stop and think about things. We'll get to that. We're also going to have a look at the government ignoring this is my premise. I think they've ignored the report on the $30 million for Te Reo. I think it's been ignored because the report is glowing and they've used the report as to why they're not funding it anymore. And of course, I will have a look at some government targets. They've come out going, we hit 39 of our 40 targets this quarter, leaving a whole bunch of stuff out and no mention of the ferries and all these things that they were going to do, which they didn't do, which they didn't hit. So let's get into it. So we've got our hairless leader on a couple of times tonight in different parts from the same conversation because he talked to breakfast about both the funding cuts and another one about potential conflicts of interest, like with Casey Costello. Potential conflicts of interest. Just another one. It's like it must be a day ending in a Y, Chewy, because there's concerns around Casey Costello and a conflict of interest. And that only ever happens on a day that ends in a Y.
It's a day of people showing their entire ass.
Yep.
Like for us, one person showing their ass is a plus. The parade, multiple people with their ass out. We're going to talk about them all tonight.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what we do, right, we're fair, I think, and we judge this government based on their judgment of the last government, what they expect the last government to do, or what they've said themselves. So, like, for example...
Well, for the very reason that it actually leads to perceptions of bias, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
I just say to you, that's the perception. Whether that's real or not doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so remember very clearly, pre-Prime Minister Luxon, it didn't matter whether perception was actually, the conflict of interest was actually there or not. It's bad enough to be a conflict of interest, possibly, like the perception of. So we might come back to that a bit more when we're talking about Casey Costello. But I think we're going to start talking about, no, that's the Casey Costello one. I've got them back to front. It'll be that one. We're going to start off by talking about the funding cuts to Te Reo. This conversation is about 60 seconds, and then I want to go to the New Zealand Herald and read out to you actually what the report says, because the report is pretty glowing. What did they say this morning on breakfast?
We had the Māori Principals Association on earlier this morning, Tracy Fraser. Do you stand by the funding cuts to Te Reo for teachers? And she says, why can't you have both?
Well, I think the first thing is what I'd be most concerned about is only 12% of our Māori students at the end of year 8 are where they need to be on
So just for a change, Chewy, he does not answer the question. He rolls out the talking points around achievement in schools. Now, that's a conversation to be had, for sure, but that's not the question that Daniel Faitawa asked him. I have to be honest, I freaked out a little bit there because for some reason I was expecting Jenny May Coffin and I heard Daniel Faitawa and I was like, oh no, I wasn't Jenny May Coffin.
most concerned about is only 12% of our Māori students at the end of year 8 are where they need to be on mathematics going into high school. Across the whole country, it's only 22%. So basically 4 out of 5 of our kids across the whole country are not at the standard they need to be going into high school. We know mathematics is critical because we can't build 4-lane highways to whangarei, we can't do agri-science, we can't do artificial intelligence if we don't have some of that foundational knowledge in place. So that's our focus and that's our
Okay, so let's ask this question, Mr. Luxon. What is our biggest earner here in New Zealand? Tourism. Tourism is our biggest earner. Just to play the game that Luxon's playing, do you think knowing what pi is to the 7th decimal is more important for tourism or te reo? Or speaking and knowing Māori? Like, because he's basically minimizing te reo by saying how important maths is in these fields. And sure, I would agree with him that maths is probably more important in those fields than a second language or a Māori language, like if it's your second language. However, there are lots of other work fields. In fact, the one that earns New Zealand the most money, where te reo, knowing Māori, understanding Māori, would be more relevant than maths. It's funny how he doesn't use that example, Chewy.
This guy is a moron. Like, I just keep circling back to it. You can't push him off his talking points. He can't update his thinking.
I'll just bring this up while you're talking.
Yeah, look. File footage. Like, it's just such shallow thinking. Like, yes, maths is important. No one's debating that it isn't.
Yeah.
But when you minimize our individual country's culture and rank it at that point, going, well, this isn't good enough. Like, the question is not, hey, look, Māori students aren't achieving to the level that we want them to because of te reo Māori.
Yeah.
Like, the answer is somewhere else. Our education system is failing our Māori students. Why? Is it classroom style? Is it classroom size? Are we trying to make them learn in a system that is not set up for them, that does not bend? And his answer is to come up with a more rigid education system. Absolutely insane.
So this clip is only like 1:10, right? The first 40 seconds of 1:10, he hasn't answered it. He's deferred off to a talking point. Let's see what the last 30 seconds holds, folks.
Priority. What we've done with respect to that program is made an assessment to say, look, we've spent $100 million on it since 2019. It's not NZQA accredited. It's double the cost of other providers. And frankly, there's been low completion rates. We think with the different wānanga and also tertiary institutions that there's other programs that can deliver some of that te reo education and training that we want to see. So we're committed to that. But it's just, we're also a government, as I've said many times before, if we see a program being ineffective, we're quite happy to stop it and do something else that is going to be more effective.
Now, to me, Chewy, this is one of those examples as well of, we've talked about this, cancelling something before you've got a replacement for it. Because when you hear Mr. Luxon say, another wānanga, these places can pick up on it, you kind of go, let's be fair, guys. Yes, we as taxpayers, if there is another option which is as good or better and half the price. I mean, that's just a wise spend of money. But what he's saying is, in theory, other wānangas could do this. And whilst they're saying in theory, they're cancelling this plan, Chewy.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't planning. This is government by ideology, government by absolute chaos. And they're hoping that we can't keep track of all of these things that they're doing. But there's a lot of us that are paying attention to this now, and a lot of us that are just cutting through it. So these guys have got to wake up. Like, if the rage that is bubbling down here in the South Island at the moment over something like the hospital filters through into other issues, then this is a one-term government. This has to be a one-term government.
And remember when they start talking about money and that kind of stuff, this was the adage before the election.
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent, because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
That's clearly bullshit.
And then they spend $4 million. And look, $4 million is chicken feed when you've got a GDP of whatever it is, 250 billion, right? Gotcha. But it was Luxon's standard for himself. He said it, not me. This is not me putting on to Luxon my understanding of what he should do. It's him. It's him putting it onto him.
We want a government that cares about how every single dollar is spent. Because every single dollar the government spends is ultimately a dollar from your pocket.
And when they're cancelling this course, which is 30 million, but they're spending 4 million on a referendum or a series of legislative maneuvers, which are going to go nowhere. So he's saying every single dollar matters, well, except for those 4 million, which are a waste of time because it's not going anywhere. Those 4 million, that's actually quite a big chunk towards 30 million. That could have been a stepway to paying for what they're now cancelling, Chewy.
We should start a tally list. Like, yeah, cool. So 4 million. How much are we having to pay the Koreans for fucking them around? $500,000 that we paid Bill English to do almost no work. 3 day a week levy at the health service. I guess they're walking away from a hospital down here, so there's a sunk money in that. Mm-hmm. Like they say this, and it sounds great. It sounds great. It sounds like we've got a government that is aware of the fact that the money that they're spending doesn't belong to them, and that there are obligations that come with it, and it is not backed up by action. Because these guys can borrow. Like the International Monetary Fund came out today and said, we've got concerns about New Zealand's economy and their spending.
Yeah.
We believe, as we have done for many years, that they need to look at a comprehensive capital gains tax, and that they need to look at not that they're spending, but what they're spending on.
Yeah.
And singling out the removal of interest deductibility for landlords. The International Monetary Fund. What the fuck? This is just, it's mental. It is brainworms territory. Everybody's gone insane.
Anna mentions one way to do maths and reading isn't going to help neurodiverse kids. Yep, we're aware of that. This is what happened in the 70s, 80s, and maybe 90s. When you heard about kids, there's the odd kid falls through the crack. Yeah, the neurodiverse kid that didn't fit in with that structure, and now they're bringing that structure back. So you're 100%. You're 100% on that. Absolutely. Let's also have a look at now, though, what this course is that they're cancelling, because I think it's important for us to try and think about it. Te Ahu o Te Reo Māori, inside the report, used to justify cutting 30 million from a te reo course for teachers. I think that it's probably most important we just go to the bit that says what the findings include. Okay, so this is this course which is underperforming, not doing well enough, and so we're going to scrap it. The program is, this is from the report, remember? Very clear, and I just said that, but it's from the report that they're using to cancel it. The program is very popular with outstanding engagement from the sector. One provider has a waiting list twice the size of their annual allocation. 87% of participants said the program helped them build the confidence they needed to use te reo in the classroom. 87%, because he's like only 12% finished it. It's like, that was 12% for the Māori kids. Sorry, I'll withdraw. 97% would recommend it to others, 97%. 79% said they are keen to take another Te Ahu Aotearoa Māori course. Participants face challenges knowing how to implement what they had learned in a way that was appropriate for their students. At least 56% of all participants are actively teaching students, potentially increasing up to 80% when factoring in senior leadership. Enrollments beyond level 3 were, quote, likely to be for personal interest and fulfillment rather than development of their teaching practice. So people are getting involved and going, hey, I like this whole part of New Zealand. I want to do more. Reports point to shortfalls in Ministry of Education data collection, including significant information gaps in the documentation collected on the program, and providers asked for clear directives, quote unquote, on the analytics the ministry required on participant numbers and engagement, but were left to determine it out themselves. Issues like this led to inconsistencies across providers, ultimately making it harder to measure the performance of the wider initiative. So there's some paperwork issues within there, But what it's saying is, that means we can't really give you a really clear indication. But what we can tell you is people like it, people use it, people want to come back, everybody recommends it. And that report to the national government, national-led government, goes, well, we better get rid of it, Chewy. Get rid of it.
I love this. Again, just standard pattern that we have with this government is that they announce something, we go, that doesn't sound good, and then we wait 3 days for someone to prove that we were right.
Yeah.
And it usually involves they were provided with advice and they ignored it. So it doesn't matter. It's not evidence-based. It's not fact-based. They're ignoring advice on a range of topics right throughout their responsibilities that affect all New Zealanders. It's targeted at some of our society's least protected people.
Yeah.
It's affecting our national culture. It is raising division. It's not good value for money. Like, do we need to go on?
Sadly, yes, because if we don't go on, it'll become last week's news cycle and no one else will talk about it. So unfortunately, yes, we do need to go on. And probably on, and probably on.
And on and on and on and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Till election night.
Yes, yes, yes. All right. Is there anything else? Have you seen anything in the chat you want to get to or anything before we move on?
I've been going cross-eyed at this insanity. I haven't even been looking at the chat. I'm sorry.
I was trying to maybe follow your advice, Chewy, that you think National's doing, and front load the whole program with all the bullshit so we could have some fun out the back. So I was going, so maybe I'll play the other part of the Christopher Luxon thing now, and we can front load all the bullshit. But then we're just left with John Key. So I don't know which is the.
It's like being told that you can't have pudding until you've eaten your vegetables, and then you find out that your pudding's vegetables as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Which tastes better, this bird shit or this cat shit? Which one do you want to eat?
Oh.
Hey, people are asking in the chat as well, and I know you had this last night. I don't have it, about the world record haka. We didn't talk about that last night because we ran out of time. Maybe we should grab that up as well at some stage. And
yeah, I'll hunt that out now.
Now remember, people, we hold this government accountable to how much they held the last government accountable, and also the standards they set for themselves.
Well, for the very reason that it actually leads to perceptions of bias, rightly or wrongly. I just say to you, that's the perception. Whether that's real or not doesn't really matter.
So perception of bias, a perception of having a conflict of interest, it doesn't matter whether it's real or not, because there's a perception there. So, Chewy, it doesn't matter whether Casey Costello has a conflict of interest with smoking, or actually it's just the perception of one, because I guess what he's saying is perception is reality, and that makes it not okay. Christopher Luxon was asked about Casey Costello this morning. In particular, she is referencing some research, independent research, that she hasn't shown anyone and won't show people. But that's the independent research that she's using.
Trust me, bro.
Yeah,
I've got
to
it.
make decisions.
I've got it.
Well, I guess we hear so much about this government running on vibes. It's just probably an extension of that. And if you were the Prime Minister and you heard that one of your ministers from another party was basing the decisions around smoking laws on a report that no one else had seen and she would not release, would you want to know more about it? Well, apparently, if your name is Christopher Luxon, the answer is no, I don't have to see anything else. No, it's fine.
I want to move on to Associate Health Minister Casey Costello. You're aware that smoke-free advocates say you should be concerned over the lack of transparency shown by the Minister after documents reveal officials told Costello cutting the tax for heated tobacco products would benefit big tobacco companies like Philip Morris. And even Treasury officials warned the products are toxic and more harmful than vaping.
How bad does something have to be for non-expert healthcare, like Treasury, to go, hey guys, this is really bad shit? Like, if they know it's really bad, how bad does it have to be? People outside the health syllabus, the health area, are coming in saying we shouldn't do this, it's really bad. Oh, no, she'll be right. She'll be right. But I guess Mr. Luxon is going to give us the answer to this, and he's going to tell us why it's a good idea to give Philip Morris a big, massive tax cut and allow them to sell a brand new poisonous product into our country.
And even Treasury officials warned the products are toxic and more harmful than vaping. I mean, Costello was claiming that she had evidence that showed independent advice before reducing the tax, but won't say where she got that from.
I disagree.
Can I just ask you, have you seen the evidence that Costello is talking about?
I haven't personally, but what I just say to you is the ministers, all my ministers receive advice daily, and lots of it, hundreds of pages of advice typically any given day. But what I just say to you...
Does that not concern you, Prime Minister?
Well, no.
She's saying that she has independent advice, but won't bring it forward to...
This is really good by Daniel. I know we sometimes... that's a great phrase. Sometimes we're harsh on these guys, but Daniel has such a lovely, soft-spoken manner. But this is really good, really good. He's just redirected because he's about to go. I trust you, and he's like, no, you just need to answer this question. So kudos where kudos is done. Daniel Faitaua does really well in this conversation.
No, she's saying that she has independent advice, but won't bring it forward to anyone. You haven't seen it. I mean, that's a concern, isn't it?
Well, what I'd say is I have complete faith in the minister. I know she is very, very determined.
Even though you haven't seen the advice?
Well,
yeah, how about this question? Based on what? You have complete confidence in the former tobacco lobbyist doing deals with tobacco. Based on what? What's your confidence based on for this particular minister? Like, what is the evidence you have for the outcome and the KPI that you want to see based on Casey Costello that this is not a conflict of interest? Because there's lots of perceptions out there from lots of places that say it is. So what is your evidence based on to give you that confidence, Mr. Luxon?
Well, what I'd say is I have complete faith in the minister. I know she is very, very determined.
Even though you haven't seen the advice?
Well, I just, in my meetings with her, she is very, very determined to deliver on our smoke-free 2025 goals. And if you just think about the last year, we've moved that from 8.6 down to 6.8%. We're on track to deliver the 5%. But one of the things that we've learnt, Daniel, is that if you can provide alternatives to smoking, if you just think about vaping, I think almost 230,000 people have given up smoking because of vaping being available as a smoking cessation tool, and we're open to any of those other alternatives. So heated tobacco products, we know as
any of those alternatives, any cannabis, any alternatives. I don't know about that.
And we're open to any of those other alternatives. So heated tobacco products, we know is much better than actually people smoking. So we're up for any and every alternative in order to hit the 5% that we've set ourselves.
Okay, this is where I call bullshit. You ready for this, Chewie? We're up for any and every alternative. Any and every alternative. There was this alternative in place under Labor before they came in. There was this alternative called Smoke Free 2025. He's up for any and every alternative. Well, except that one. Except that one which led the world in smoking laws. Led the world. It was a shining light on the hill to the world about how to deal with smoking. Any and every alternative. Well, except that one. Except that one that the rest of the world looked at us in envy going, you guys have done it. You guys have done it. Finally, someone's done it. You're not open to that one, are you, Chewie?
What I'd like to say to you, Pat, is this. When I said any,
not when I've got a mouthful of water, bro.
Any, because I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this politics stuff. Stop asking me mean questions. I have perfect faith in the minister based on her long career of honest actions of working for a tobacco giant, and it's purely pure coincidence, Pat, that the product that we're bringing in is a product that Philip Morris spent hundreds of millions of dollars developing and has failed in almost every developed nation as a smoking cessation tool.
Yeah, because
it got outmarketed by vaping. So, guess where the fucking dumping ground Philip Morris has gone to Costello, like, we've got warehouses full of these fucking things that nobody wants.
Yeah. We need 12 months to get rid of them. Just give us 12 months.
Yeah. Just 12 months. Exactly. Like, why would they fuck people around with this? Like, they're called poison in other countries. It is just the dying gasps of an industry that is fading because their product is poison.
It's such a good point you just made there, bro. Like, honestly, why you're painting that picture, because he's about to go on and say, remember, this is just a 12-month trial. You could be exactly right. They got a shit ton of stock sitting somewhere that everyone else has said no to, that they got to get rid of. They think they can get rid of it in 12 months. And so they've negotiated behind the scenes because there is an appearance of a conflict of interest to give them exactly what they want to get rid of their stocks. I don't know. It's a green light think rather than an accusation, but sheesh, there's some weight behind that.
If Luxon wants to clear this up, look, I'll give him a pathway here. He can go down to her office and say, excuse me, can I please see the report? I need it for this thing. I'm going on a podcast tonight and I need the report because BHN says that you're making me look like an idiot that doesn't know what my own ministers are doing. And I'd like to put that to bed, please. Can I see the report? Is it in the office with you now?
Oh, I think
I
might have left
drawer
it.
that I can't look in?
I think I might have left it in that taxi that the other ministers pick up their research from. Sorry, boss.
Like, if you want, like, if Luxon wants to see two people fucking eat humble pie for an hour to an hour and a half, all he has to do is come on the show with that report.
Yeah,
that's it. It'll be amazing entertainment.
Yep.
Amazing. He could make us look like fools at the drop of a hat.
Yep. All right.
I'm sure that's going to happen.
It's got about a minute to go.
And frankly, it's also a trial for 12 months.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll do a review, and if we think it's working, we'll make it permanent. If not, we won't.
We'll do a review, and like if they've run out of stock by then, I guess we'll just stop it anyway.
Are you up for looking at the independent advice that Costello is looking at? Are you up at looking at that at least?
What I'm up for is making sure that we give as many alternatives to smoking.
No, not as many. We already made that point. Not as many. No, that's not true.
Looking at that at least.
What I'm up for is making sure that we give as many alternatives to smoking as available as possible. That when we try something like heated tobacco products, which we know is certainly not as harmful as smoking, that's a good thing for us to try.
I do hear that, but I'm asking you again, this is independent advice that she says that she won't tell anyone where she gets it from. Are you not concerned? And do you want to have a look at that advice?
All I just say to you is I'm interested in the outcomes and the results, which is I want
less advice coming from? That's what everyone is asked. Smoke-free advocates are saying, where is this advice coming from? Do you not want to bring in your minister and ask her, can I look at the advice that you're getting?
I'm very comfortable with the minister. I think the minister's performing incredibly well. I think she's really very, very strongly dedicated to...
Give me some reasons as to why you think that. What have you specifically seen to make you think that, Mr. Luxon?
We're actually lowering smoking rates across New Zealand. We're making good progress on that. We're on track to deliver smoke-free 2025. She's equally looking at alternatives, whether it be vaping, whether it be heated tobacco products. We're going to try it. We're going to try heated tobacco products just for 12 months to see how it goes. We'll do a review. If it doesn't work, we can stop it. If it's working well to actually get people off smoking cigarettes, that's better than actually people smoking cigarettes. That's a good thing. And so we're up for anything and everything that lowers smoking rates. And I have no doubt the minister's very committed to that goal too.
Remember that one there? We're up to any and everything, quote, that lowers smoking rates. Well, not everything. Not everything, because there was that one that you weren't up for. So you're not up for any and everything. You're up for some things. Chewy.
So the thing that I don't get, I just want to talk about this product, right? This heated tobacco product.
Yeah.
Like, even from the name sounds bullshit. It's not smoking. It's a heated tobacco product. Okay, so one of the things that we agree about tobacco, right, is it's poisonous, cancer-causing, public harm vector, right? And somehow, because you're not quite setting it on fire, you're just heating up. It's still tobacco. It's still that thing, that is full of pesticide and tar and nicotine and all of that sort of stuff. It's still the same thing. You're just not burning it, you're only heating it. Isn't it the same fucking product? From the same fucking company that has been lying to everyone about it since the turn of last century. We're trusting these guys. We're trusting Philip Morris, that has always had our best interests at heart, that has never lied to us, that has never cost the healthcare system of this country untold billions of dollars and killed God knows how many thousands of New Zealanders. We're just going to trust them on this. And we're going to trust their pocket minister that the independent advice that she has seen, A, exists, and B, doesn't have a Philip Morris fucking letterhead on it.
Yeah.
What a nonsense. And this just shows Luxon's middle manager technique for days. He hasn't seen it. He's had no proof. He's not across it. He doesn't know about it. I have complete faith in my underlings. But I've got nothing to back that up. That is not even the first time he's done it today.
Yeah. Nah, preach. Preach is what I say, preach. Some chats that have been going on in there. Real Talk with Jake. For a new bottle of Pepsi Max, it looks near empty.
You're being watched.
It's my water bottle here.
You're being a good boy.
Nah,
Good boy,
but
Pat.
Pepsi Max is in the fridge. I'm having that as well.
Oh, you ruined it. You're one of the hydro homies.
Peter says the advisors to this government are some blokes down the pub and a collective of boorish uncles. Yeah, sounds about right. And Uncle Bob from Nelson, who we often refer. Ken says the corruption runs deep with this. Look, here's the thing, yeah? And obviously some goings on some podcasts over the last 3 or 4 weeks have left some of us a bit more wary of accusations and defamation, but it doesn't have to be corruption. It doesn't have to be corruption to be bad, because remember...
Well, for the very reason that it actually leads to perceptions of bias, rightly or wrongly. I just say to you, that's the perception. Whether that's real or not doesn't really matter.
Doesn't really matter if the corruption is real or not. If there's a perception of corruption, that's all that matters, according to Luxon.
Pat, what was that comment from? What was it about? What was he talking about at that point?
It was
Is that about Michael Woodhouse?
The journalist fund. The journalist fund, and how everyone was saying people, these other media, they're bought and sold, and they're doing Labour's bidding, and so all the right guys were really cowardly about it. They weren't coming out overtly and going, "This is not providing bias. This is not doing it." They were saying, Luxon was saying that. It doesn't really matter whether it's true or not. It's the perception, the perception is all that matters. So okay, fine, perception is all that matters.
And when it has been a government minister, like Michael Woodhouse, gone. Like, just gone.
Yeah.
And yet we have, what is it this week? There was that MP that didn't declare $178,000 plus worth of donations. Well, he's back in the House. He's got his committee positions through. Obviously, the perceptions around what he did for getting more than 19 campaign donations. That's fine. We're not allowed to have a perception around that. We're not allowed to have a perception about our firearms minister's conflict of interest, that the only stakeholders that she wants to talk to are gun owners.
Can we just say this? So look, I know this is really obvious, but I just want to spell this out. Isn't it crazy that there is a firearm lobbyist working on gun laws in New Zealand and a fucking tobacco lobbyist working on tobacco laws in New Zealand? I mean, how much further are you going to go? There's a person who sells like suicide pods working on the assisted dying pod. Like if there was one, and there, you kind of, but it's like these really important situations with really strong lobby groups just by chance happened to have the ministers in place who were the lobbyists for that department or that, that work. It's like perception is reality.
How about getting someone that's written several articles over the last 20 years about how our health system should be privatized and putting them in charge of our health system? What about that one? What if the health department came out and Health New Zealand came out today and said, well, actually, the way that we need to go forward is through privatization? Would anyone find that surprising?
Yeah.
Because this is what it is. It's like we've had people in the Labor government toe around shit and get shit canned whenever they cop a little bit of flack from the right, and we're firing fucking broadsides, and the media is pointing out just egregious conflicts of interest, and everybody's still got their jobs. Everyone's still got their jobs. Everybody is still living with people that work for lobby groups. It's a family fucking industry for Philip Morris.
Yeah, hello, bishops. Welcome on board.
Costello's not the only one. The bishops.
Yeah.
I'm taking my crazy pills.
There was also a story today, which we're not going to talk about tonight because I haven't done any research on it. I saw the headline quite late about, this conversations around that exact thing around privatising health. So that will probably be something that comes back tomorrow. The Sun will also come out, apparently. Brian wants to know which is our best. This is like the giant turd and the douche sandwich. No, the turd sandwich and the giant douche. Oh, that South Park episode it will last forever. Who you got to pick from? Which turd smells the best? Yes. Tawhiri, Nats go wacko, Nats go wacko, wacko, Nats go wacko, Nats go wacko for tobacco. Sun on Ascendant. Many tau iwi who are positively committed to te reo me ngā tikanga Māori in the ECE sector, funding and government support matters, 100%. Kiwi Bird Luxon has complete faith in his reputation going up in smoke, says Kiwi Bird. Mr. Arvid's crack's an alternative. Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. We're open to anything. What about injecting heroin into my eyeballs? If I did that and it gave up smoking, could we come to some kind of agreement? Because I think any alternative, Chewy.
You are twisting Luxon's word of anything. Obviously he said anything. What he meant was a limited selection of alternative therapies from the companies that put us in this position in the first place. That's by any reasonable person's definition, that's what anything means.
Well, maybe he needs to join up to Big Pharma and get some oxy into New Zealand for us. By any means, that might be the way to go. Arsehole, just says here's $5. Thanks, arsehole. I put a bit more of an R in that one. Arsehole.
Oh no, we noticed.
It's funny. It's like a fart. Fart's always funny, and that name's always going to be funny. In case you haven't worked this out yet, people, basically once men hit a certain age, they just become 9-year-old boys again. That's life. That is life. Tawhiri again. I like cig butts and I cannot lie. National.
On fire, mate.
You're on fire. On fire. Dave says he lied about how many places would sell tobacco. There you go. Oh, look at this. Arsehole. Luxon's sister-in-law works for Philip Morris. I think I did hear that somewhere as well. Yeah. So family conflict of interest? Yeah. Julian says cough Cello. Cello, by the way. So there you go. Frosty, thank you for your super chat. The CEO of ANZ wanted a CGT. Luxon and Willis treated her comments as if she'd said, we should all start eating our pets. Simon Wilson, NZ Herald. Yeah, we showed that last week. It was, and the point, of course, that we are going to continue to make is the head of ANZ now has been working in the financial field for 35 years. Who do we think has more experience to comment on how our economy is going? That person or the person who got an English degree at university, who is now our finance minister. But with honours, Chewy. But with honours, so credit where credit's due. Tiffany says, how do we call a crook these days? Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like in the house, you can't call someone a liar in the house. You got to use other words. Like they're not telling the truth.
Right honourable.
Former Prime Minister, that sort of thing. Speaking of, John Key did an interview with Samantha Hayes today. Actually, I don't know if it's today. It was released today. And I'm a bit confused by it because it's 19 minutes long and there's some shorter clips around, but it must be an hour interview, but they haven't released it all yet because she starts the conversation by saying, let's start by talking about American election. And that's all they talk about in the 19 minutes. There's nothing else. So it must be more. Okay, because I've looked around today and all I could find was a bunch of, even on their YouTube channel, like a 19-minute clips was the length of it. So, all right, so that's all we've got for tonight anyway. Yeah, let's have a look at his views because obviously, you know, I met John Key several times. I interviewed him several times. He does come across as someone who is fiscally conservative and sort of socially liberal, probably socially centrist. But man, listening to this part of this conversation, all I hear is Republican talking points with no thought whatsoever again and again and again. Let's have a listen to the conversation around who's going to win the US election.
Who do you think will win the US election?
Yeah, look, I think it's tricky. I mean, it's blindingly obvious to say that Kamala Harris has changed the narrative in terms of momentum, has gone back a bit more towards the Democrats, and I don't think that was the case prior to that. Having said that, you know, I'm not so sure. I think Trump can actually win it. And I think there's sort of two reasons. One, I think America's very divided, but the economy will still be a big issue, and Donald Trump polls well on that.
Now, this is something to be aware of. I haven't got it to show you. Not anymore. Because I listen to a lot of American commentators, and at the moment, many polls are, for the first time, putting the Democrat, which is Harris, equal to or slightly above Trump. Historically, the Republicans, just like the National Party, have seemed to be able to own this narrative incorrectly, which I'll show you before the end of this chat, but has owned it. But at the moment, polls are actually saying Trump's not the trusted source now. It's much, much, much more 50-50 in many polls.
Secondly, it's not like New Zealand where every vote counts, far from it. It's only really those swing states of Pennsylvania, you know, Wisconsin, Georgia, those kind of places. And then thirdly, I think, putting it sort of bluntly, Donald Trump isn't everyone's cup of tea, that's for sure. But some people might vote for him but not want to tell a pollster they're voting for him. So I think you could see the 2016 effect where he's doing better than actually what you see in the polls.
Yeah, I want to clear this up again. The polls in America in 2016 were basically right because they were all nationwide and they said Hillary will win by 3%. She got 3 million more votes than Trump did. So those polls were actually right, but everyone looks at those polls and goes, well, it said here that Hillary would win. No, they were all nationwide polls that said nationally Clinton was ahead by 3%. And she got 3 million more votes. He got the presidency, which is why now you see a lot more polling based in the swing states. It wasn't like that in 2016. It's far, far more like that right now. So this whole thing about the polling was out in 2016 is not actually the case. It might not have been perfect, but it's not like what people try to sell you as. Like it was so wrong because they were nationwide polls, the popular vote polls. And for that, it was accurate-ish, Chewy. It wasn't so far off to be so terrible. We'll keep going with this. So, you know, history of polling, that's what I've written down. That was that bit there. We'll keep seeing what he's got to say.
That's right. That's what we saw with Hillary Clinton, wasn't it? Everybody thought she was going to win, but
no, it's not what we saw in the polls.
Was ahead. Yeah, I find that really interesting. So when it was Trump versus Biden, do you think Trump would definitely have won in that scenario?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like at 98%.
Yes.
98%. Yeah. Now that it's Trump versus Harris, what kind of percentage
well,
do you put it at now?
I still got him to get over the line, actually. Although, you know, I could easily be wrong, but I think it's 55-45. He wins it. I mean, it's not straightforward.
Which is not reflected anywhere in the polling, by the way. Nowhere in the polling, anywhere from anyone, does he have a 10-point lead on her. I know he's talking about percentage-wise, but that's what that equates to, a 10-point lead. Nowhere, anywhere.
because it is so hard. Like all of those swing states seem to be in the margin of error. We've still got quite a lot of days to go. I mean, Hillary Clinton ran a really bad ground game. She never went to those swing states at the very end. Kamala Harris won't make that mistake again. Her running mate comes from one of those swing states. So it's not as simple, but nevertheless, anyway, I think it'll be too close to call for quite a while. But if Donald Trump,
he's still got that thing, that thing he always did as he talks. He's still got it.
Can wrestle the debate back onto the economy, I think he wins. I think if it's on all these other issues, he potentially loses. But I've still got him ahead in my brain.
You still think that he's going to win?
Yeah.
Who do you think should win?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question because I think on both sides, I mean, I'm centre-right, unashamedly centre-right, have always voted, centre-right my entire life. You'd have to say that some of the policies that you see from the Republican Party under Donald Trump are a long, long way from what I believe in. So, for instance, I'm economically very conservative, balance the budget, lower taxes, all of those things, market-based solutions, but I'm socially very liberal. They are very conservative. I mean,
we didn't really see that when you were Prime Minister. We heard you say it. We didn't really see it. I mean, he is more liberal when it comes to, social issues, but I would never call him socially liberal. Socially centrist, maybe.
Positions on abortion and on a huge range of other issues. So America is very different. I mean, we're a secular society in New Zealand. We believe that church should be out of the governing of our country. If they don't say God bless America, and if they didn't believe in God, they probably couldn't even get elected. It's just a very different system.
There you go. So there's part one, Chewy. It's a very different system. Trump's going to win because he'll win on the economy, and the polls were wrong in 2016, even though nationally they were kind of right. I got a couple more clips to play, but you go for it, sir.
I didn't realise this morning when I saw this that how much I'd been waiting for a ponytail enthusiast's take on the US elections.
There you go. Asking you shall receive.
Dude lives in Hawaii. Like he's golfed with Obama. Like he calls himself centre right. I don't know why he doesn't support the Democrats. Because by our measure of government, the Democrats are centre right.
Yeah.
Like he's parroting lines that Kamala Harris is radical left, economically radical left, just to the right of a Marxist. And that's not based on anything but Fox News talking points and MAGA talking points. And this man will echo them.
Well, I've got my favorite thing to do is to dive into the numbers. I'm going to feed you tonight, baby birds. I've got numbers because we're going to go back then to the conversation because I'll show you the next part because he's still going on about Trump being better than the economy. This is only about 55 seconds, but let's have a look.
I think he's better for the economy because
does
I think
that make him the better choice?
Well,
completely.
Looking at it from one perspective, which I think he's better from an economic point of view. But the only thing I'd say is that I spent a lot of time with Barack Obama, obviously, to try and get TPP across the line, and we did. And the very first thing that Donald Trump did was rip up the free trade.
He's about to confirm that Trump would be terrible for New Zealand. Yet they're still like, I think he's going to win, but Key's about to say that
between New Zealand and basically America. So from that perspective, I don't know how great necessarily that is. I also think that New Zealand is a little country. We benefit when we hold hands with all the countries around the world. So we do well out of things like the United Nations or any sort of grouping, APEC, East Asian Summit. Donald Trump is driving very much an America first, an America more isolationist kind of view, actually. It's quite different, actually. It's a very different foreign policy than we've ever seen. So that probably doesn't help New Zealand as much. But on balance, I think he's probably better for the economy.
So, no good for us. No, we're screwed. No, it's not good for New Zealand. But, he's better for the economy. I've got one more clip to play and then I'm going to get in some numbers. But do you want to share that? That's still just Trump better for the economy. You got anything you want to share specifically about that, or should we just get to the last one?
History hat on. We've never seen America first before. Yes, we fucking have. It was post World War II. It went into the 30s. And that particular slogan was used by American fascists.
Right.
there is no way that the person that put that out there, that Donald Trump should use America first, did not know that. So yes, we have seen an isolationist America before. We ended up with World War II.
Yeah, just clarity. You said after World War II, then you said it went into 30. Do you mean after World War One? Just the
after World War One,
okay,
America went very isolationist.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to play this last bit. I can see people getting angry already in the chat that we're playing John Key, but this is really important to get to the end of it.
Sorry, look at that pause, chat.
You like that?
Look at it.
You ready? Maybe that'll be the thumbnail for this clip.
Look, his eyes are going in two different directions.
We'll do
like
that.
Fucking chameleon.
I'm just going to play this. It's only just over a minute, and then I'm going to get to, because you know what? One of the things we do like to do is actually kind of give you guys information that you want to use. We hear this so much. Republicans are better for the economy. New Zealand, the right is better for the economy. National is the party of business. Well, we're going to look at that in some detail after this clip with a little bit of research.
Then his argument would be that I'm going to create an economy which is going to create more jobs and going to be more...
So Trump's
what
argument.
The Democrats are saying that they're going to create more jobs, that they'll lift the standard of living, that they'll lift wages.
Yeah, I think to be fair to Donald Trump...
no.
Hang on, can I just pause you there? Yeah, why?
We're not doing
why do we need to be fair to Donald Trump? No.
Not on this show.
No, let's not do that.
I think the evidence shows that when he was president, he did cut a lot of bureaucracy, did support a lot of private sector. There was quite a lot of job growth. So the problem with...
What?
Yes, that's the quote that made me go, straight away, and we will get back to that. Hold your fire. We'll get back.
All of these things is they're always in isolation, and it's like looking at numbers in New Zealand when COVID took place, or say when the GFC was there or something. You can't take things out in isolation. So my main point would really be, look, I'm a core believer in centre-right politics. So I believe that if you have individuals and companies being able to have an appropriately managed but nevertheless greater presence with less bureaucracy, less regulation, less red tape, less taxes, I think people do invest, take risks and create jobs. So that'll be his argument about why it'll be better for those workers. And his argument is, well, the countries I'm targeting aren't playing fair and they're not treating you fairly, and the reason you're losing your job is because they're,
it's because I've threatened to put literally a 200% tariff on John Deere if they leave America.
Doing things that we don't agree with. So I kind of understand it. Just the question is, what is campaign rhetoric and what is reality?
Mark Cuban made a very good point about what Key just said there. What is campaign rhetoric and what is reality? Mark Cuban made a very good point talking about why he was going to support Harris over Trump. And one of the points he made was Harris explains her position and then that's it. Donald Trump bloviates out word salad, and other people then have to come in and explain to the media what he was saying. And I just thought that's such a good observation. Whether it's J.D. Vance or whether it's one of his surrogates going on Fox or whatever, he will just go with this word salad of ridiculousness. Then others will explain what it meant. Whereas Harris is all self-contained and she explains it all herself, which I actually thought was quite a good thing. Right, Chewy, let's get into this, right? I had a bit of pushback around Twitter today when I put some of those quotes up. And one of the things that was being said was this thing that John Key just said, and I'll read it out for you. I wrote it down for the quote. This is talking of Trump's last tenure. Quote, there was quite a lot of job growth. Now, I was going to say anecdotally, I heard otherwise. From commentators and stuff, I heard otherwise. So I thought, let's get up to it and let's have a look what the actual data is. So here's some data for you guys. Since the Great Depression, the economy has fared better under Democratic presidents than Republican presidents. This fact holds true regardless of the economic measure used. Economic growth, employment, job creation, income, and productivity have all been stronger under Democratic presidents. From 1933 to 2020, this goes through to 2021, so don't get all of Joe Biden, but get a little bit of some of the facts and figures. The economy grew at an average of 4.6% per year under Democratic presidents, or nearly double the 2.4% under Republican presidents. There were 14 different presidents over this time, 7 Democrats, 7 Republicans. Democratic presidents constantly ranked higher in economic job growth and creation. Of the 7 presidents with the highest annual economic growth rate, 5 are Democrats. Conversely, 5 of the 7 presidents with the lowest economic growth rate are Republicans. Of the 7 presidents with the highest annual job creation, 6 are Democrats. On the flip side, 6 of the 7 presidents with the lowest job creation are Republicans. Most recently, President Biden has overseen a 5.7% real GDP growth, the highest annual economic growth since 1984, and the creation of 6.6 million jobs, the most in a single year in recorded history. Now, I got online today and I put some of the stuff out there and people are like, oh yeah, but you know, COVID, Trump COVID. And I'm like, well, okay, let's first check this out. You guys want to cite things like fuel prices, like inflation, like the southern border as being successes under Trump. You don't go, well, they were only a success because of COVID, which is the case. No one was driving, no one was immigrating, and no one was trying to cross the border. So if you're not going to take away the credit from him from those because of COVID, then you don't get the right to blame COVID when the facts and figures don't quite line up. But again, Chewy, beyond that, this data is not necessarily about Trump and Biden. This is about, since 1933, all Democrats and all Republicans. So in other words, this doesn't give us just a look at the COVID year. This gives us a look at the Great Depression. This gives us a look at the 1987 stock market crash. This gets us to take a look at the 1970s fuel shortages. We can look at the 2007-2008 global financial crisis. This is all of it. Lots of presidents have had massive issues, and of them, Donald Trump is the worst by a measurable amount. So this is the growth of the economy, and you can see up, and this is Joe Biden. They managed to squeeze 2021 in there, but I wanted to show you a couple of things in particular. GDP has grown faster, and look, I know it's sometimes confusing, but remember their colors are opposite us. So blue is left, red is right. I'd sometimes confuse this, but GDP has grown faster under Democratic presidents. Annual GDP growth rate from the start of each presidential term, 1953 to 2020, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Republican, Republican. So there you go. And Trump right down the bottom on 1%. Remember George W. Bush? He had a war, and at the end of his term, a global financial crisis. He had 2 things to deal with in that way. What about we have a look at jobs? Remember, John Key, there was quite a lot of job growth under Trump. There was quite a lot of job growth. Even if I block these names on the left, can you see which one you think might be Trump? Maybe. Because John Key said quite a lot of job growth. His words. So we're measuring by his standard of his words. As you can see, Johnson, Carter, Clinton, Kennedy, all up the top. Couple of Republicans and then Obama. By far and away, jobs have grown faster under Democrats and Republicans. Well, you see, there's one little anomaly, Chewy. Since the 1950s, there's only been one president in that whole time. Vietnam War, 87 stock market crash, 2008 financial global crisis.
That's because he's a rogue. He's not a politician. He's not constrained by the rules of politics. He goes his own way. He goes the other way.
Trump is the only president, at least since this research shows, since the 1950s, to have a negative job growth. John Key, there was quite a lot of job growth. Literally incorrect. Literally the opposite of that. There was no job growth. In fact, it was the opposite of that. There's one other paragraph I think I want to read you that I think I highlighted from memory. Yep, here it goes. Democratic administrators turn around weak economies left by their Republican predecessors. That's the heading of this. Historically, Democratic presidents have inherited weak economies from their Republican predecessors and have responded with policies that jump-started economic growth and improved economic well-being. George W. Bush his administration policies directly contributed to the Great Recession, which reduced earnings for a generation of workers, led to years of widespread unemployment, and caused an unprecedented decline in wealth. President Bush, and he still had more jobs and did better than Donald Trump, with all of that against him. President Bush left office with just 1.4 million jobs added across his presidency and an unemployment rate of 7.8, nearly double what it was when he entered office. After inheriting a sputtering economy, President Obama spearheaded the longest expansion under a single president in US history. During 76 consecutive months, 15 million jobs were created. The unemployment rate was cut from 10% near the height of the Great Recession in October 2009 to 4.7% in January 2017. Two things. John Key, there was quite a lot of job growth under Donald Trump. Only president in recent memory to have a negative job growth. I haven't got the numbers here for Obama, but for Biden, slip of the tongue, Freudian, for Biden, but Biden's created more jobs than that if you add all the Republican presidents together, Biden has created more jobs than all of them combined. So John Key wrong, and please people, let's not let these guys on the right tell us that they're the fucking parties of business and they're the parties of the economy, because they're just not. Chewy.
It's scary how much that's true in our system as well. This base of myth that national are great for the economy. We are going full steam ahead into a cascading effect of austerity and businesses clamping down. Smithfield Freezing Works announced at the end of last week that they're closing.
That. Yep.
That is going to gut Timaru. I saw a story today about, I think it was Gisborne, the amount of small businesses that are under the hammer because their pulp and paper mill, the forestry is closed.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really clear here that they may be really good for business. It's not small business.
No.
And it's not the workers that work for those businesses. It is big business. Those guys that have enough money to ride out the chaos and capitalize on the turbulence that creates, they do very well.
Yeah, and then they can,
of them
take all the customers from those small ones who have closed down.
Yeah, some of them run off to another colonized country, buy a second home in Hawaii, spend their time learning to fly a helicopter, because there's nothing more important that you could put your money to. And then we get him to weigh in on an election that he clearly doesn't understand. Like, there are quotes from Key that he would vote for South American dictators because they are on the right. You would have to hold guns to Key and his wife and kids' heads to get him to even consider voting for someone that described themselves as being on the left. He is not a fair analysis of this. He is always going to pump for the right-wing business dude. And to say that Trump is good for an economy, this is a man that bankrupted 2 casinos.
3.
Right. There's a third one.
Because he's so good. He's so good at business. He's so good at business that he started up 3 casinos at the same time in the same city, and they cannibalized one another. That was his genius plan. He's the only man who can start a business where the house always wins and the house loses. He's the only man who's ever done that.
About his wealth creation, how he's done it, like that sort of thing, and they go from what he started with from his racist fuckhead of a father. And it was just basically like, oh, if you put this in a conservative share fund, you would make more money than Trump has in his lifetime. Like, he is not a good businessman. He doesn't understand the economy. He doesn't understand tariffs, for a start. And for Key to go, oh yeah, this would be great for the economy, it will be horrific for New Zealand. He's already said that our products will be copping a 26% tariff. So who's he pulling for?
Yeah.
Like,
himself.
does Key just not give a fuck about us anymore because the flag stayed the same? Is that why it is?
He talked in that interview as well about spending a lot of his time. He's on a board somewhere in America, and he's still got his house in Hawaii and that kind of stuff. But this is, I know, I'm not
being sued for insider trading. Did he mention that?
I don't think he did in that part, at least. I just wanted to say this one more time, because sometimes you can form an argument, right? Even if you're wrong, you can form an argument. But he said there was quite a lot of jobs. There was quite a lot of job growth, quote unquote, under Trump. And that's actually a metric we can completely measure. And it's really important to show that there's no opinion here, right? This is not like 1 + 1 is 4. Yeah, it can be 4, it can be 3, it can be 5. This is a tangible, measurable thing, he said. And he is not correct. Now, I don't know what Samantha Hayes' mandate for that interview was, but I mean, like I didn't have these numbers to hand when I heard him say that, but I knew that Trump was the only president in recent history to have a negative job growth. Obviously, Samantha Hayes didn't know that, or it was set up as a bit of a puff piece and she was never going to say it, but no pushback, no nothing at all, you know. And I know you went to broadcasting school with a Chewie, so you probably got a soft spot for her, but when people get this access and they don't push back when they should push back, it's frustrating. Measurable, tangible, Trump had a negative job growth rating.
It does strike me as a puff interview.
Maybe.
Like, I mean, he's a private citizen now. You can't really turn the screws to him, but yeah,
but you can call it out when he's wrong. I mean, he's wrong.
Yeah,
you can call that out. He might be a private citizen, but he does turn up to Parliament to give old Baldy a bit of a slap on the head. Yeah, just to make sure things are still going along like they are. Right. A few super chats in here. They're just super chats. Sam McIntyre, thank you for your $2. Appreciate that. Which is now our $2. So. Peter Sim, thank you for your super chat. Things must be bad. The Nats have deployed their emotional support XPM. That's very funny. Because I care exactly, Wall Street is backing her too. Is that the Casey Costello conversation? When did that come in? 9:52. Guess it was, wasn't it? Probably. What time are we now? I don't know. Something like that. Kiwi Bird for $2. Thank you. Key is socially liberal with pulling ponytails. Man, that's come up so many times the last 24 hours. Things you do in public. Citizen Gold, thank you for your super chat. Trump had to deal with COVID. Biden also had to deal with COVID and the post-pandemic world and the cluster frack Trump left. So yeah, but COVID is not an argument. Well, but COVID can be an argument, but you can't pick and choose when you're going to use it. You either take no credit and no blame, or you take credit and blame. You don't get to take credit and no blame. You don't get to do that because that's disingenuous. Gareth says, when Key says the economy fares better, maybe he means the ultra-wealthy fare better. Trump cut taxes for billionaires and golfed a lot. Ken says, can't imagine anyone being interested in Luxon's worldview when he's no longer PM. Yeah, that's interesting, actually. Maybe there's a company somewhere in the world that needs deodorants to be sold. Mike, thank you for your super chat, says, do we have numbers like this for New Zealand? I could easily set up a website we can all point to whenever this dumb conversation comes up. Yep, I mean, probably someone like Craig Rennie would be a good place to start to find out if we could get some of these sorts of numbers more nailed down. Because you could find them, but I'm sure he would just have them because he's a nerd like that. AAA, $1. Hey, $1. Thank you for your super chat. That's super chat, Chewie. Do you got anything you want to share? You got a little screen opened up down there. I can see it.
Yes, we were talking about having a bit of a palate cleanser about the hardware.
Yeah, good time.
I've got that story if we want to watch that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We'll put it up then. Go on, Sam again.
Well, we did it. Aotearoa has reclaimed the Guinness World Record for the largest mass haka. More than 6,500 people performed kaumate, led by Ngāti Toa, for a full minute at Eden Park last night. It beat the previous record held by France of 4,028 people.
It's pretty cool. And Conan O'Brien got his little ginger head across the pond and had a look at it as well. He was there with Taika Waititi.
Incredible. A star-studded lineup performed at the event too, including 660, Shei Fu and the Top Twins. The attempt also raised funds for Dame Hiniwehi Mohi's charity, the Rokotori Music Therapy Centre.
Very cool.
So what France? That's my whole question for the whole thing. Why did France have the world record for the biggest?
I mean, I guess if we wanted to find out what the world record for the longest game of baseball was and then beat it by 10 minutes, even though baseball's is an American thing, we could do that in New Zealand. It's probably just something like that.
Like if we want to go after the French, why don't we make the world's biggest croissant?
What about crepe? World's biggest crepe.
Most knee-high piles of dog shit in a major city. I had a great time in Paris, by the way. Yeah, hit them where it hurts.
Mr. Arvids, I imagine Luxon has that lady from Austin Powers bring out the John Key. All right, guys. Well, I mean, we've already got half tomorrow night's show planned, obviously, with the working group tonight. Thank you for being with us tonight. Is there anything you want to wrap up with at the end, shall we?
Yeah, look, a few people have sort of commented that we must be talking about Levy's comments around the health system, and that's absolutely something that we'll have a look at for tomorrow as well. It was a pretty late breaking story. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot going on at the moment.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Thank you for your super chat, Wooming. Coping donation. Yep, we all need that sometimes, don't we? A bit of a coping donation. Yep. All right, guys. I think it's time for us to head off to the Wild Blue Yonder. Team, thanks for being with us tonight. Appreciate you, and we'll be back tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Yes, I know there's going to be complaints that there's no dogs in the shot tonight, but you know, when my 15-year-old's along, she kind of steals a dog some night, so maybe tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But we'll catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. for another live one of Big Hairy News. Chewy, anything?
Just keep your chins up, guys. We've got this. We won't forget all of this shit that we've got to keep track of. Keep pushing.
All right, team. Be safe. We'll see you tomorrow night from 9. Hooroo!
Cheers, fam.
Well, for the very reason that it actually leads to perceptions of bias, rightly or wrongly. I just say to you, that's the perception. Whether that's real or not doesn't really matter.